Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our dear audience, our viewers from wherever you may be watching. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us iman. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us safety and security in these times. Grant us safe wealth, good wealth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, our families, and everyone at large. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Yaseen. Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair for coming on board this week. We really appreciate. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa jazakumullahu khairan for having me on. Barakallahu feekum.
Jazakumullah khair. We really appreciate you coming on. Honestly, I think it's through your barakah that we started seeing a little bit of snow here in Atlanta right now, actually.
You know, it's our first snowfall right now. As I was driving out to madrasa, I saw the first snowfall. I did not know how cold it was outside. I was hibernating for about almost 48 hours. And I step out and I see flakes and I say, MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah.
And those flakes just ended up in Atlanta as well now.
No kidding. SubhanAllah, SubhanAllah. May Allah make it easy on you guys.
I mean, you know, in Georgia, we're not used to snow, so we see a little bit of snow, and you best believe Georgia is going to be shut down for the next couple of days.
Right. On top of the lockdown, Allah make it easy for you all, inshallah. Give you that to bear the cold.
For the audience. Yeah, for the audience, those who don't or who aren't aware of Shaykh Yaseen, just a little background on Shaykh Yaseen. So we appreciate him coming on board. MashaAllah, Shaykh Yaseen was born in Canada. He's a Canadian, so he runs with the cold. The snow is no challenge for him, MashaAllah. Shaykh Yaseen embarked on his spiritual journey at the age of 12 in Toronto, Canada, wherein he secured a bachelor's in Islamic sciences and a major in theology. Shaykh Yaseen spearheaded his passion in research, which compelled him to dig deeper into the exegesis, which is a tafsir of the Holy Quran, and actually specialized in the tafsir of the Quran. MashaAllah, Shaykh runs and is the principal of Al-Fatiha Institute, as well as serving as a tafsir instructor and part-time khatib at the Islamic Foundation South, which is in Villa Park, Illinois. MashaAllah, Shaykh is heading many noble works and is very much involved in the Illinois area. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve and accept the Shaykh. And without further ado, Shaykh, the floor is yours.
Jazakumullahu khairan, barakallahu feekum. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa, amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم الخير يا فتاح وبك نستعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Ahsan al-jazai to the Burhan family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward one and all. And indeed, inna dalla ala al-khayri kafa'ilihi. You know, you're doing this great job, and you know, this hadith kind of just blends in with what you're doing. Subhanallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward one and all involved in any, you know, effort and khidmat of deen, you know, especially in these times and ages when our scholarship, you know, day by day, month by month, and wallahi, you know, especially just in 2020, you know, so many of our akabirin, of our ulama have left this world. And in reality, you know, as you know, Maulana Amin was mentioning from Darul Qasim recently, he was saying that, you know, this responsibility ultimately is on our shoulders, you know. And believe it or not, you know, whether you feel like you're fit for it or not, Allah gave you that laqab, Allah gave us this responsibility, and now it's our responsibility to carry it forward. And it's a serious job. It's a serious job, just like a doctor's job, just like an engineer's job, just like a scientist's job. You know, it's a serious situation. The world is facing spiritual downfall. Just like there is a physical downfall, you know, medical downfall, just like that is a spiritual downfall. But nonetheless, you know, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us, and congratulations to Shaykh Ahmed Ja'fari Sahib, for his newly born. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the hardship, bearing a baby, the 9 months, and then thereafter, it's not easy. Wallahi, it's not easy. It's difficult, it's challenging, but you know what? The best part about it is that there is sweetness to it. It's the most challenging but the most beautiful gift at the same time, synonymously. Allahu Akbar. It's the most challenging, but yet the most result oriented gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a gift. So congratulations to you as well. MashaAllah, barakallahu feekum. Anyway, inshallah, we'll just dive right into it. When I was originally contacted by Shaykh, he gave me a pool of hadith to choose from. And alhamdulillah, this very beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ on the authority of Anas ibn Malik was one that I chose, wherein, and I won't give you just the portion that was mentioned in the book that they chose to take the hadith from, but inshallah we'll give you the entire narration and the context of it. And it's very beautiful because this particular action, if you want to call it, right, or this particular good deed, it kind of covers both the realms. Which realms am I talking about? It basically covers huquq al-ibad and huquq Allah. It's a beautiful hadith, and it can cover so much. And I was digging into the Quran trying to look for some beautiful connection, and wallahi, subhanallah, there's so much. Wallahu akbar walillahi alhamd. So anyway, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ to get a conveyance of some sort. But Rasulullah ﷺ did not have any conveyance with him. So he was led to another person. فَلَمْ يَجِدْ عِنْدَهُ مَا يَتَحَمَّلُهُ فَدَلَّهُ عَلَى آخَرٍ فَحَمَلَهُ فَأَتَى النَّبِيَّ صلى الله عليه وسلم فَأَخْبَرَهُ. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to him, informed him about that, and he said, whosoever leads to good, إِنَّ الدَّالَّ عَلَى الْخَيْرِ كَفَاعِلِهِ. Whoever leads to good, he is like the one who does it. Subhanallah. And there's much that has been said by Imam al-Qurtubi, by Imam Nawawi, rahimahumullah, about this particular hadith and the connotations and the manifestations of this beautiful hadith. It's like, when you are basically guiding someone towards something good, when you are engaging in this good action, because number one is that bad quality of selfishness kind of gets emitted from you. And that's really good, because in today's world, we are a very selfish community. We are a very selfish people. We're always worrying about ourselves. We're always worried about, me is my praise, my izzah, my benefit, my, and I, the iPhone, the iPod, and you got the whole series going on. So it's all, there is this book that we teach her, Manazil Sa'irin. Amazing book written by none other than Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah, Abu Ismail al-Harawi rahimahullah. And the first, in the introduction, he just mentioned, he goes, before studying this book, you have to understand, this book is all about self-annihilation. Once you learn to erase the I inside of you, once you learn to erase who you are, then you're able to recognize Allah. And that is the purpose. Or in the وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, أَيْ لِيَعْرِفُونَ. Why? What's the purpose of the creation of humanity? Allahu Akbar. The deeper meaning of ibadah is ya'rifun, is to recognize Allah Azza wa Jalla. So that's very beautiful. And so, we become a very selfless community when we decide to spread good. And when we do this good, and when we spread the good, whether it be the word or whether it be the action, whether it even be the thought. You know how they say it's the thought that counts, right? You probably say that to your wife a lot, right? It's the thought that counts. I thought about it. I thought about the anniversary, and I thought, right? But Right? It's the thought that counts. Don't take it lightly, though. Astaghfirullah. But anyway, so the idea is just spreading the good, spreading the khair, and that brings that selflessness inside of you. And once that selflessness comes inside of you, because in order to spread the good, I'll tell you, a lot of times you need to annihilate yourself. You need to kind of how do you say? You need to kind of discredit yourself. A lot of people don't want, everybody wants the credit for themselves. Oh, I did this. So, there is some sort of a pamphlet that comes out, or, some sort of a discovery that's made in the house, or even in the masjid, or wherever, right? Oh, you try to make sure that aapka naam kahin se andar aa jaye. That your name comes inside there. And that's how the human is. So that's how the human is. And, so anyways, I was saying earlier that, it covers both, huququllah and huququl ibad. That you tell someone good in reference to ubudiyah, in reference to worship. You tell someone, you guide them to the masjid, or you guide them to, something that is praiseworthy in reference to ibadah. You connect them to Allah. Now you're fulfilling this huququllah. You're really doing something wherein it connects them to fulfill the rights of Allah. And then at the same time, as the hadith, goes very beautifully about the person making i'tikaf, right? That the one who even just walks towards helping out someone, right, he just treads the path of going towards someone, right? And there are many hadith that are linked to this sort of a hadith, where it is mentioned that the person who just goes to what, he just steps out, he just takes a few steps. Literally, that's the words of the hadith, that if you take a few steps in reference to what, helping someone out, right, what happens? That is better and more rewarding, wallahu akbar walillahi alhamd, than to make i'tikaf. Where? In Masjid Nabawi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When? In the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Wallah, I mean, poof. If that does not wake you up in reference to huquq al-ibad, then I don't know what will. My Mufti Sahib, he always used to say, Mufti al-Majid Sahib, subhanallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, he always used to say, be sensitive to the environment around you. These words are profound. These words are deep. They're amiq. They're just so powerful, and this is kind of like a logo of our madrasa, like, kind of like a mission statement. Be sensitive to the environment around you. And that is one of the most important things in our lives, because you know what? We do more social interactions than we do spiritual interactions, isn't it? We do more. Today it's more virtual interactions. I understand. Right? But we do more social interactions by far than we do spiritual interactions. What do I mean? We do more things that are associated with huquq al-ibad than are associated with huquq Allah. Isn't it? Yeah. How many minutes altogether in a day do we actually pray? Right? The zakat we give once a year. Hajj we go once in a lifetime. Siyam we do once a year, 30 days out of the year. All of these things are huququllah, right? So how long and how much do we stay with our families? How much do we stay connected to, and how much time do we spend at work? This has all got to do with ma'amalat and ma'asharat and akhlaqiyat, which is literally 75% of our deen, and we undermine this. We undermine this so much, subhanallah, that most of our lives we are stuck with huquq al-ibad. That's why one of the 3 du'as that was asked by the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because every Nabi got granted 3 wishes, yes? And so Rasulullah, the last du'a that he made, you know what it was? Subhanallah. It was that, Ya Allah, please forgive my ummah in reference to their huquq al-ibad, in reference to their haqa'iq, to their brothers and sisters. And so some scholars say that dua was accepted, and some say that it remained, suspended. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu a'lam. This is my evening coffee after teaching almost 8 hours. Right? I need that extra little boost, inshallah. And it's not Coke. I don't drink Coke. Right? Just kala garam pani, not kala thanda pani. Anyway, so as I was saying, right, that doing good, which in turn manifests more good, is something that is very beloved in our deen, whether it be connected to the haqa'iq of Allah, and whether it be connected to the haqa'iq of the ibad, of the people around us. And acknowledge, my dear friends, is that the good that we recommend someone to do, right? Or we kind of spread the good word, and that person does the good action. Yes, he does the good action. Now, his action that he has done in reference to the good that he has done may be possibly deficient. It may be incomplete in its reward. However, the one who made the dal, not the curry dal, right? The one who made the recommendation, who gave the da'wah, right? For that person is the full reward. Allahu Akbar. This is mine and your Allah. Arhamur Rahimin. Subhanallah. Rahmanur Rahim. Right? So for the one that I, for example, tell this brother, okay, brother, you got to read Surah Al-Mulk every night, for example. Right? Or I tell this brother, giving in the path of Allah, charity, sadaqah, fi sabilillah, is very rewarding. That your sadaqah, your money does not decrease by giving in the way of Allah. Or I give him a particular, virtue for it, and whatever have you, right? So he gives in the way of Allah, but maybe his intention, wallahu a'lam, I mean, we're obviously not pointing anybody out, right? Right? So, his intention may be a little deficient, and he may not have received the maximum potential of that virtue or of that reward. But guess who receives the maximum potential reward for that good I do? Allahu Akbar. That is Allah. And so, my dear friends, we have to understand, are we banking for this life, or are we banking for the hereafter? What are we banking for this life? Are we banking for this life that which will end, or are we banking for the hereafter, that which will continue and go on forever and ever? Abadan abada. Over here, everything will turn back to dust. It will turn back to mud. But everything in the hereafter will continue. And the smart person is the one who we assume as the smart person is the one who is always what? Who is always, investing, right? We're, oh my God, this brother, he knows how to invest. Go talk to him. He knows how to work with the stocks. Go talk to him. You know what I'm saying? So likewise, subhanallah, I beg to differ. I beg to differ as per the one who is intelligent. Because Rasulullah said, Al-kayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. That the intelligent person is the one who works for the hereafter. He prepares for the hereafter before he leaves. It's just like how we prepare for our retirement, right? Before we get old and Buddha. Before we get old and scrawny and, before we can't do anything anymore. We all prepare for it. We all have some sort of a vision, some scope. Okay, you know what? I got to put this in place, this 401, this and that, and whatever have you. Right? But what about the hereafter? Something that's forever and forever. And we don't even, it doesn't even, ala qalbi bashar, it doesn't even cross our thoughts that, maybe I should start this sort of a business. With what? With Allah. Invest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that investment will never fail you. Allahu Akbar. That investment will never fail you, right? You give sadaqah in the way of Allah to a masjid, that investment will continue till the day of judgment and will appear to you on the day of judgment in the form of its intention and in the form of its quality and in the form of its quality. Wallahu Akbar walillahi alhamd. And that is a guaranteed return. A guaranteed return. What we invest in this world and what we give out in this world is not necessarily an investment that is wholesome, that is guaranteed. It is not guaranteed. We know that. And the funniest part is scary. Oh my God. We actually take the risks. We are literally ready to take, whatever. I mean, there's a risk involved. We all know there's a risk involved. Subhanallah. We are ready to risk it in this life. But for the hereafter, which is guaranteed, we're not ready to risk. Wallahu Akbar. And this is, this is insan. As I mentioned in the start, we're selfish. We're very selfish human beings. Anyways, I found this very beautiful verse that I wanted to discuss with you all. It's in Surah An-Nisa. It's the 85th verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, من يشفع شفاعة حسنة يكن له نصيب منها ومن يشفع شفاعة سيئة يكن له كفل منها وكان الله على كل شيء مقيتا. Allah Akbar. Whoever gives a good recommendation, he gets some. Whoever gives a bad, he gets some. Right? I don't want to get into the detailed translation right now, but what I'm trying to say is that first, number one, understand that this is a Madani. This is Madani Quran. This is Madani Quran. So this verse was originally brought down to the Muslim community, hence you and I. Just wanted to, kind of set the stage here. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights the invisible people, societies, individuals who get ignored in communities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights them. And again, and you're going to see how I will tie it up with the hadith, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me clarity in thought and clarity in speech. I mean, those people who are less economically set and so on. Basically, right, and also the subject in and of itself is a very seldom spoken or subject or discussion, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it's such a beautiful verse, and it really just, how would I say, it nurtures and it nourishes communities. If we take this verse to heart, if we really try to apply our lives to this very, very beautiful verse of the Quran, then wallahi, things will change in our lives. Our lives will change things in our lives. The milestones that we are trying to reach, the accomplishments, the pedestals that we're trying to get to, inshallah, we will reach it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically says, that whoever makes a good recommendation, a good intercession for someone, he says something good about someone or makes a good case for somebody, he's going to have a portion of it. And, whoever intercedes or makes a bad recommendation, and also for an evil cause, for a bad purpose, will have a share of its burden. Now, the meanings are different. The words are different. In the beginning, it's Naseem, and over here, it's Kifl, and we'll explain that in just a minute. And then Allah says at the end, to conclude the verse, Allah alone is empowering over all things. So quickly, let's talk about Shafa'ah. What is Shafa'ah? What is the meaning of Shafa'ah? Al-wisatatu fi isal al-khayr aw daf' al-shar. In Arabic, they say that it's either to point someone towards a good or to turn someone away from something bad. Aw daf' al-shar. So first, I'm going to give you some examples of isal al-khayr. Okay, someone is looking for a job, right? And this is something it comes across in our daily lives. Someone is looking for a job, and you have the power to refer that individual, right? You have a power to refer them. You can really hook him up, right? That's shafa hasana, and you do it. That's shafa hasana, shafa'atun hasana. Okay, just keep these terminologies in mind. Shafa'a hasana, good recommendation, right? And you have the power basically to refer them, right? You have the ability to refer them. You have that connection, right? But the thing about recommendations and connections, especially for those of you that are, in the job market or, are looking for a job, or for example, are looking to get married, right? Or trying to maybe, start up a business, possibly not in this particular, economic climate. It's all about connections. When you want to get married, when you want to get a job, especially a corporate level job, it's all about connections. It's all about connections, SubhanAllah, it is what it is, especially nowadays, Do you want to start a business? It's all about connections. You get the right spot, you get the right business, you got the right people, you got the right merchant, you got the eggs, etc., etc. You guys know what I'm talking about. So you get a phone call and we heard from so and so that so why don't you come in for a meeting, or why don't you come in for an interview, right? It's all connections, And another direct example for shafa'ah, I want to explain this very clearly. Another example about shafa'ah, hasana, good shafa'ah, is say when your coworker is being fired, for example, right? Your coworker is being fired, and he has no time, or she has no time to explain what happened. So apparently, they came in late to the floor manager, but you saw that as soon as he or she had come in, they got pulled into a meeting or something, and you know that they weren't late. So you jump in, right? You jump in and you intercede, right? Because they did not have time to intercede on behalf of themselves, right? And say, listen, I was there. I saw him walk in on time, and you saved him from losing his job. And then you have something called references, right? So one is recommendations, and the other one is references. So when you talk about references, for example, when you leave a job and go to a new job, you tell your ex-boss, can you put in a good name for me? Can I put you as a reference? Or for example, myself being a teacher, a student comes up to me a lot of times, and they'll tell me, "Can you write me a recommendation letter? Can you write me Ustad? Can you write me a letter of recommendation? I want to go to this university or that college or whatever happened." Right? So now I'm going to try to give you some examples of daf'u shar. So that was, to point them in the right direction. Now, daf'u shar is to take them away from something bad. They're both recommendations, good recommendations. They're all hasana. They're all good recommendations. But some of them could be to, put them in the right direction, or some of them could be to turn them away from something bad. So, for example, don't purchase this house. I don't think you should, purchase this house. It's probably not a good idea. And even though that house may be of a good friend of yours, but you tell them, no, I don't think you should purchase it. I don't think that's a good idea. Or, you know what? I've dealt with this scam before. Or even something very trivial, like, for example, you were on the highway, and there is, traffic backed up all the way to downtown, and there's a bad accident or whatever have you, and you tell someone about it, right? You tell them, okay, I don't think you should go ahead with that route. So to turn them away from harm, you save them from some trouble. So now conclusion. We'll get to the conclusion, okay? I don't want to take this too long. I know he said that I can talk for hours and hours, but I'm not going to do that, although I do sometimes have a bad habit of doing that, right? I sometimes just kind of, let me see if I got any text messages. Okay, I think we're in the clear so far. All right. Anyway, so so far the meanings that I've given you are all for good recommendations, shafa'a hasana. But the Quran says that there are also bad recommendations, which is strange, or needs a bit more, input or to understand it, to comprehend it. Because Ibn Ashur rahimahullah, he says, "La yadullu ala shar." The Quran, la yadullu ala shar. The Quran has said something very unusual when it said bad recommendation. Shafa'a sayyi'ah. Shafa'a sayyi'ah. So let us quickly give a few examples, and I'll try to hurry this one up. For example, when someone is not really qualified for a job, but you are connected to the company or someone, right? And it's your cousin that's actually looking for the job, or your nephew, or your younger brother, or your older brother who is a deadbeat, or whatever stuff, right? And you're not honest about their qualifications. You're like, yeah, don't worry about him. Hook him up. He's good for the job. He's good for it. How many of us have done that? Ask yourselves this question. It's scary. This has got to do with our deen. Allah talks about it in the Quran. Check it out. So anyway, right now you're like, oh, they're qualified. Don't worry about it. Just hook it up. All right. You're like, let me use my connection. Let me use my hookup, right? Or you can say, just do me this favor. You just set it up for me, right? You're like, I got this, right? Subhanallah. So even though you benefited your cousin, your nephew, your deadbeat brother, whatever, right? This is not really a shafa'a hasana. This is not a shafa'a hasana. This is not dal al khair. This is not shafa'a hasana. It's not a good recommendation because it's not based on truth. It's based on dishonesty. And then, and, you sometimes you get students come up to me all the time, well, Stas, can you write me up a recommendation for this university? I'm trying to get accepted. And I say, no, I can't do that. He says, well, why? I says, well, I was your student and whatever have you. And the fact that, you were present here, but you were absent at the same time because you were sleeping 95% of the time during the classes, I'm not going to, oh, but we're Muslims, we're supposed to look out for each other. That's exactly why I shouldn't be giving you a recommendation. You see what I'm getting at, right? The hadith says it very clearly. Al-Muslimu mir'atul Muslim. A believer is a mirror of another believer. There's no way I'm giving you that recommendation, right? Now, for example, I go for Hajj, right? I'm asked to recommend Hajj groups. And I'm treated differently. Why? Because I will be recommending later, right? It's a public responsibility. It's a public responsibility. So the idea of recommending someone, you have to be very careful how you do it, whether it be a good recommendation or, for that matter, a bad recommendation, because there are consequences, right? Just like there's consequences to good. That's why the reward for it is in full. Just like that, there's consequences which are bad, which are very bad, which are horrible, which will destroy you. And let me explain how and why. Allahu Akbar. This ayah just sums up this hadith, and I feel like this ayah and this hadith is just like interlocking, right? Intertwining. So, a lot of times what, you could, and just going to give you a little solution here, because a lot of times it's very difficult. You get put into a very difficult situation. So, how to dismiss the situation nicely. That's the next question. So I'm not saying that you just simply dismiss others or, others, the good that they do or the good actions that they have done, right? So someone asks you about something and you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know. What is that? That simply means that they're pretty messed up. You think I should send my child? I don't know, man. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying anything about it, right? Well, you might as well stay quiet. You might as well stay quiet, right? Or dismiss yourself by saying, well, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's a good cause and I don't know much about it. Instead of those, obvious impressions. So you have to be very careful of how you and we recommend, or for example, for that matter, unrecommend people or humans or organizations or businesses. You have to be intelligent. To be intelligent enough to be recommending them or unrecommending them in a good way, right? And today, recommendations are everything. The good word of someone is everything. Whenever you want to buy something, 9 times out of 10, right? 9 times out of 10, whenever you want to buy a vehicle, something big, even a burger joint, you call up your buddy, you call up a friend, like, yo, you know about this place? Yeah? Okay, cool. Amazon, it runs on recommendation. It runs on what do you call those? The comments, the what do you call those? The thingies, right? the things that it gets, the recommendations, or, the comments, the feedback on a certain product or whatever the case may be. So last but not least, when someone deserves a good recommendation, my friends, then give it to them. Don't be cheap with your recommendations. And this is a sad reality in our communities, in our societies. And this is how feeble-minded people can get, So you have a person who went to medical school in Pakistan, right? He comes to America a long time ago, and he gets well-established. He's like, 6-figure digit, whatever, this and that, whatever have you. And these young, guys, they're just, they're kind of trying to climb the ladder, and they're like, can you please recommend me? Can you please recommend me, man? Can you please hook me up, uncle? Or chacha, can you please, help me out here? Right? But they don't do it. They don't do it, right? Thinking that if I recommended him, or if I will recommend him, then one day they will become a competition for me. And this not only happens in hospitals and places of work as such, but it happens everywhere, right? This is the feeble-mindedness of a human being, where they cannot see someone come up. And this is a very huge disease that we have in our communities. Whether it be in Islamic or whether it be otherwise, right? And this is not the only industry, like I mentioned. You'll even see this happen in the work of deen, unfortunately, right? You have someone, mashallah, giving beautiful khutbahs and lectures and whatever have you. And unfortunately, again, like I said, our masajid have become political battlegrounds. And so you ask the sheikh about another sheikh or another organization or program, and they'll say, well, I don't know. Alhamdulillah, he's good. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, he's all right. He's okay. Yeah, I don't know about that sheikh. I don't know about him much, No, sure, I don't know about him. He just came in there. Whatever, right? No, but we just have to mirchi dal ke, masala laga ke, la hawla wala. Because he sees that if I recommend the other one, he's my local community, he's in my neighboring masjid, then I will lose my audience. A lot of customers here. Astaghfirullah, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and give us sincerity, my friends. So in the Muslim world and even elsewhere, you have people, those, whose job is to unrecommend others. They just continuously, or overly recommend or glorify someone for that matter, right? That is also not shafa'a sayyi'ah. Anyway, so what are the consequences? Now we get to the final point. What are the consequences? This is where, we take this home, right? What are the consequences for all of this? All right, I've given sufficient examples to understand the verse itself, that there is shafa'a hasana, good recommendations, and within those recommendations, you are turning people towards good and you are turning people away from bad. And then you have the bad recommendations. You're not being honest about those recommendations, which is shafa'a sayyi'ah, right? And possibly have someone lose a job. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, and it can, anyway. So if we can make good recommendations, in other words, shafa'a hasana, then you will have a portion from it. And what is the word that Allah uses here? Naseeb. You know how in Urdu there's a saying, our teacher always used to say, ba adab ba naseeb, be adab be naseeb. That the one who has adab, respect, then he is naseeb dar. Naseeb dar ka matlab fortunate. He's a fortunate person. He's a man of fortune. He's a man that will move ahead. Ba adab ba naseeb. This is very deep. Our teachers always tell us this. This is one of the most important things in growing up in scholarship, right? In Islamic scholarship. Is ba adab ba naseeb. Be adab be naseeb. That if you have no respect for the books, no respect for the desks, no respect for the environment around you, no respect for the teachers, right? They're not just your typical math teachers and English teachers. Even those teachers are respectable, by the way. They deserve respect. You got to give credit where credit is due. That's the bottom line. But anyway, right? يَكُلْ لَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِنْهَا. And so nasib and kifl, Allah uses both these words in the two separate sections of this ayah. For nasib, he uses for the good, and kifl, he uses for the bad, right? And they're both translated as portion, that you will get a portion of the good, and you get a portion of the bad in the English language. But in the Arabic language, they both have completely different ramifications. Nasib, al-hazm min kulli shay, a portion of all things, a portion of all things. So what does that mean? For example, you recommended a good recommendation and an honest recommendation for someone who ended up getting a good job, an amazing job. He landed a six-figure salary or even $1 million salary. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. Everything is going good, happiness in their life, and so on and so forth. You have a portion of it. The person got married because of that job. You have a portion of it. You have a share. This person got children because they got that job. You have a share. This person was able to put a roof over the family. You have a share. This person was able to pay off an outstanding debt, for example. You have a share. This person was able to give sadaqah in Ramadan because of that job that he got. You have a share. This person was able to build a masjid. You have a share. This person was able to go for Hajj. You have a share. You see what I'm getting at? This person's children end up getting an education, becoming ulama, becoming hufaz or doctors or whatever, service to humanity. You have a share. They had pious children. You have a share. Their children had pious children. You have a share. This is what you call dal al khair. Wallahi, this is what you call real business, man. This is what you call the perfect investment. The perfect investment. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Wallahu fi auni al-abd, ma kana al-abdu fi auni akhi. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the aid, is in the help, is in the assistance of the slave. Ma kana al-abdu, as long as that slave, fi auni akhihi, is in the service of his brother. Inna dal ala al-khayri kafa'ilihi. That's the hadith. That's the hadith. And one other interesting thing about Naseem, بمعنى الحوض في الصحراء. Oh man, this is just mind-blowing. So a Naseem is like a reservoir of water, right, in the middle of the desert. And the Arabs back in the day, when they would travel in the deserts, they would eventually run out of water, obviously, a Naseem. So in order to locate the body of water in the desert, they would help each other out by placing a huge stone. By placing a what? A huge stone, something we also call in the Arabic language a Naseem. And so it was easy to locate for them. And they also called these large rocks what? In the Quran, ansab, isn't it? Ansab. And these were rocks that they would also slaughter their animals on. And so these rocks and these stones needed to be fairly large. So in other words, now check this out. In other words, you're traveling in the desert and you see, all you see is sand and desert in front of you. And all of a sudden, you see this big rock. Now, what does that give you? That gives you hope. That just gives you hope. It just excites you. It gives you hope. It gives you freedom. It gives you salvation. What Allah is telling you here, my dear friends, in this very beautiful ayah, is when you help someone out and give a shafa'a hasana, a good recommendation, a good intercession, then He will give you hope. He will put opportunities in your future, and not just good for them and goodness for you in the hereafter, but good things will start happening to you in this life. Right? As you progress, as you move forward, you're going to reach milestones in your life, which otherwise, you wouldn't be able to reach. So you think you're actually helping someone else, but the reality is you're actually only helping yourself. That's the benefit of selflessness. That's what I was talking about in the start. And that's what this hadith, it's all about selflessness. Once you're able to be selfless, then you can open your mouth and recommend something to someone, or you can tell something good to someone. Ad-dal al khair kafa'ili. Allahu Akbar. Right? And one day it's gonna be your turn. All of you. It's all of you. All Allahu Akbar. One day you're going to be trying to get married, or you're going to be actively looking for to get your kids married, isn't it? One day is going to come. You're going to be looking for the recommendation. A day is going to come when you're going to be looking for that reference, when you're going to be needing to have a business agreement or a reference letter signed or whatever. And you're going to have those doors open for you just because you helped someone else out at that point. And that is Naseem for you. Right? And now we tie this up with the consequences of bad recommendations. What are the consequences of giving bad recommendations? Right? So on the other hand, you didn't let them take a job, for example. I don't know if I'm overdoing this, but I got to finish this off. It's beautiful. All right. Right. Let me just text him. So you can't stand someone, you can't bear with them. You're out to get them, right? You're just totally out to get them. You want to ruin their lives, right? So you speak ill about them and you make them lose their job. You just ruined someone's livelihood. You understand what I'm saying? You just ruined someone's livelihood. Their children were depending on this. You don't even realize the damage that you have done because of that bad recommendation. So what's the consequences of that bad recommendation? وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاءَةً سَيِّئَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ كِفْلٌ مِّنْهَا لَا نَصِيبٌ بَلْ كِفْلٌ مِّنْهَا الْكِسَاءُ يَجْعَلُ تَحْتَ الرَّحْلِ. What is the meaning of this is that it's a piece of cloth that's wrapped around the hump of a camel so that the rider can ride on it. So a kifl is also used as a piece of cloth. Check this out. This is just too mind-blowing, right? It's a piece of cloth that, back in the day, we didn't have suitcases. So you used to take this rumal or, this huge kind of bed sheet size cloth, and you would just gather all your belongings in there and you would just tie it up and throw it where? On your back, right? You would slide it onto your backs and they would carry it behind them. And something that's basically, that drags behind you, hear my words clearly, that drags behind you, and it doesn't let you go. It's like that luggage you have to carry, right? Akfal yani daman yani means something that's guaranteed. That's why from the same root you get kafil, and kafil means a guarantor. You know what a guarantor is, right? Someone who guarantees on others' behalf, right? So what does this suggest? What does this suggest is that when you make a bad recommendation, whatever bad recommendation you had made is guaranteed to bite you in the back. Whatever bad recommendation you made is guaranteed. Kifl from kafil, the guarantor is kama tudin tudan. Bus, done. And that's why Maliki Yawmiddin is so profound, is that he is the owner and the king of the day of recompense. The day when everybody shall get back what they rightfully owned, deserve, or was supposed to get and did not get. So one can get real solace from this, just Maliki Yawmiddin. Anyway, so whatever goes around comes around, right? And that's what this ayat is telling you. Kiflum minha means whatever goes around comes around, right? Subhanallah. And it's going to get you in this world as well. Al-kifl bima'na al-mithl. بمعنى المثل المتساوي, something that is the equivalent. So, for example, the same type of damage that you did will be done back to you. Wow. الكفل بمعنى المثل المتساوي. برابر هنا. برابر هنا. The same type of damage that you did will be done back to you. Right? See, the thing is, we don't realize the damage that we do. But when it happens to us, we say, oh, where is this coming from? Ye kya ho gaya bhai? What's going on here? And finally, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقِيتًا. Look at how Allah ends off this verse. مَا يُمْسِكُ الرَّمَقْ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ. Allahu Akbar. Allah has always been muqit over all of us and over all things. The word muqit comes from the word qut. And some say qit, but qut actually refers to food that you took when you were dying. That one last morsel that saved your life. And actually, aqat, right, is to save someone from the edge of death. Aqata yuqitu. And some say aqtat, the ifti'al form of the verb, which actually means someone living right on the edge, paycheck to paycheck. They just have enough to survive now, right? Wallahu Akbar. Allah's name in this ayah is Al-Muqit, Allahu Akbar, which means He keeps everyone surviving and everything surviving. Now, why is this name of Allah so important in this ayah? In the case that you are the victim, for example. Imagine you are on the receiving end of this bad, ugly, unfair recommendation, right? You feel like you're being cornered. You feel like you're being, right, you're feeling depressed, right? You feel like you need to move out of the city. You need to move from this community. I'm not going to be able to get a job anywhere now because these people are saying that and they're saying this and whatever have you. At the end of it all, He says, good recommendation or bad recommendation is not going to do a thing. Allah, good recommendation or bad recommendation ain't gonna do a thing. At the end of the day, the one who keeps you surviving is Allah Azza wa Jal. The one who puts food in your mouth is Allah Azza wa Jal. وَيَرْزُقُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. So when someone can say bad things about you or good things about you, actually the only harm or good that they are doing is to themselves. إِنَّ الدَّالَّ عَلَى الْخَيْرِ كَفَاعِلِهِ. The one who puts anything forward that is good, he gets the full reward of it. But mind you, on the flip side, on the other side of the coin, on the contrary, whatever bad you do, whatever bad you put forward, my dear friends, it also bites you in the back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to do good, to say good, to recommend good, and to not always unrecommend or recommend. And if we do it with intelligence and we do it with good and khair. And that's why Rasulullah, last thing I want to say, Rasulullah, what did he say? It's so deep, so profound. Jawami al-kalim. That's what Rasulullah was. Jawami al-kalim. What did he say? Tongue and what is between your legs. Watch them, guaranteed Jannah. Wa akhiru da'wana. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm sorry, this is not your normal timing. I apologize. Inshallah, hopefully the brothers can forgive me. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.